Hello and welcome to Civil Aspirations. In this episode, we journey back to the time of Sheikh Ahmad Sirhindi, a pivotal figure in Islamic history. Known as Mujaddid al-Thani, or Renewer of the Second Millennium, his efforts dramatically reshaped the spiritual landscape of the subcontinent and the Muslim scholarly thought. We'll explore the life, education, and transformative reforms of this influential scholar. Born in 1564 in the town of Sirhind to Sheikh Abdul Ahad, Sheikh Ahmad was raised in an environment steeped in Islamic scholarship. He was a direct descendant of the second pious caliph, Hazrat Umar. Sheikh was introduced to the Islamic tradition through his father and received early education at home via his father, brothers, and other renowned scholars of Sirhind. He memorized the Quran at an early age and pursued knowledge in Sirhind before moving to Sialkot, where he encountered the works of pivotal thinkers like Kamal Kashmiri, who introduced him to various fields of Islamic knowledge, including logic, philosophy, and theology. He then turned his attention to Hadith and took a certificate from Yaqub Kashmiri. His time in Sialkot introduced him to Sufism and mysticism. Sheikh Ahmed was drawn to Sufism by his father, Sheikh Abdul Ahad, from whom he received the Khilafat in the Chishtiya and Suhrawardiya orders. When Sheikh Ahmed was in Agra, he met Emperor Akbar's Grand Vizier, Abu al-Fazl, and his brother, poet Faizi. Abu al-Fazl, author of Akbarnama, and his brother were pivotal in promoting Akbar's sulh-e-kul and deen-e-Ilahi. Recognizing the Sheikh's brilliance, they tried to draw him into their inner circle, but Sheikh refused as he took great offense to Abu al-Fazl's un-Islamic attitude. A pivotal moment in the Sheikh's education was his introduction to the renowned scholar of the Naqshbandiya order, Khawaja Baqi Billah. Khawaja Baqi took the Sheikh under his discipleship and bestowed upon him the Khilafat. Under Khawaja Baqi Billah's guidance, Sheikh Ahmed was initiated into the Naqshbandiya order. After his travels and guidance under Khwaja Baqi, Sheikh Ahmed returned to Sirhind, where he continued his scholarly pursuits and began teaching as well, amassing a following of his own. Now that we've seen an account of Sheikh Ahmed's educational journey, let's see how his education helped shape his later reforms that were pivotal for the resurrection of Islamic thought in the subcontinent. Sirhindi's rigorous grounding in Islamic jurisprudence and theology underscored the importance of Sharia and Sunnah. This aspect was fundamental to his critique of perceived deviation from orthodox practices within Muslim society. The intellectual depth and clarity Sirhindi attained through his education enabled him to critically assess the religious syncretism under Akbar. His opposition to deen-e-Ilahi, wahdat al-wajud, and sulh-e-kul was informed by his deep understanding. Sirhindi's education was both exoteric, outer aspects Islamic theology, and esoteric, inner mystical dimensions of Sufism. His study of the Naqshbandiya order under Khwaja Baqi emphasized the inseparability of the mystical path from orthodox Sharia. This comprehensive nature of Sheikh Ahmed's education enabled him to engage both spiritually and politically. He advocated for a model of leadership and community that reflected Islamic principles. Let's now take a look at the social, religious, and political context of the subcontinent to understand the conditions under which Sheikh Ahmed endeavored and struggled for his reforms. As far as the political situation goes, Sheikh Ahmed's lifetime covered the reigns of Mughal emperors, Akbar, Jahangir, and the early years of Shah Jahan. This was the golden period of the Mughal Empire. Akbar greatly expanded the empire laid down by his grandfather, introduced administrative reforms, and centralized authority. Jahangir continued with many of his father's policies. His reign saw Mughal consolidation in many regions of the subcontinent, with arts and architecture flourishing. Speaking of the social fabric of the Mughal Empire, the Indian subcontinent hosted a diverse and pluralistic society. Many different ethnic, religious, and linguistic groups coexisted, and Hinduism, Buddhism, Sikhism, and Islam were all practiced. The caste system, which was a cornerstone of Hinduism, was deeply entrenched in the society. The Indian subcontinent in the 16th century was undergoing several religious changes. This was due to the cultural melting pot that the society consisted of, as well as the Mughal Empire's indifference to the protection of Islamic identity. At times, the emperor enabled such syncretism, as seen in the example of deen-e-Ilahi. Introduced by Emperor Akbar, deen-e-Ilahi was an amalgamation of different religious ideologies into one. The initiative reflected Akbar's effort to win the loyalty of his subjects irrespective of their religion, outlined in sulh-e-kul, which was Akbar's concept of universal peace and incorporation of different religions into the state's governance. Deen-e-Ilahi posed grave dangers to the Islamic foundational principle of Tawhid, the authority of Sharia, role of the ulema, and potential for bid'ah. Another major challenge to orthodoxy was the concept of wahdat al-wujud and its popularity amongst the Sufi mystics of the subcontinent. It advocates for a metaphysical unity between the creator and the created. Ulama feared that its interpretation could lead to the blurring of lines between God and its creations, leading to views in conflict with monotheism. Sufi practices were further polluted by a belief in karamat and superstitions, contrary to Islamic beliefs. Finally, in the religious context of the subcontinent, particularly Islamic practices, a lack of regard for Sharia and Sunnah was on the rise. This period saw the abandonment of Islamic rituals and beliefs by segments of the Muslim society, attributed to the syncretic nature of religious policies and misguided Sufi practices. Blending of Islamic rituals with local customs and non-Islamic traditions threatened the purity of Sunnah-based practices. Some mystics and Sufis of the day openly denied the authority and authenticity of Sharia, calling it superficial and dated. Ulama and scholars ceased to refer to Quran and Sunnah in their commentaries, relying rather on Islamic jurisprudence. These were the conditions in which Sheikh Ahmad began his journey to reform and halt the decline of orthodox and true Islam. His first order of business was to challenge the concept of wahdat ul-wujud. He countered this philosophy with his own philosophy called wahdat ul-shahud. In his philosophy, Sheikh Ahmad argued that the God's existence is absolute and all-encompassing. The creations do not share in God's essence, and the unity the mystic experienced was through witnessing God's manifestations in his creation. This philosophy drew a clear line between the Creator and his creations, maintaining a strict monotheistic view and upholding the Sharia. Sheikh Ahmad also criticized Akbar's brainchild, deen-e-Ilahi. This was at a time when very few people dared to go against the emperor. Sheikh extensively wrote about the principles of deen-e-Ilahi, which he saw as diluting the purity of Islam. His letters, collected in the Maktub-e-Imam Irabani, directly addressed these issues and criticized the mixing of various religious ideologies. As a learned Sufi himself, Sheikh Ahmad advocated for Sufi practices aligned with Orthodox Islam, as opposed to the eclectic traditions promoted by deen-e-Ilahi. Sheikh Ahmad effectively used his network of disciples to propagate his views and prevent deen-e-Ilahi from infiltrating the minds of the masses. This was part 1 of our episode on Sheikh Ahmad Sirhindi. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and don't forget to press the bell icon so that you're notified when subsequent parts are uploaded. Thank you for watching, and see you soon.